Right. Now I think we got it. IOBA, my name is TC, and this is the Awareness Channel. Now, for the people out there who paying attention, Donald Trump and the Trump administration, they kind of went into, they negotiating with China over these tariffs because, well, for a lot of reasons. A couple of reasons: the U.S. ports are half-ass empty because ain't no goods coming in because of the tariffs, and because China is actually selling most shit outside of the United States. In other words, they didn't need the United States market. All that bullshit about that Trump was saying about how the Chinese market is hurting and blah blah blah. Chinese market ain't hurting. The Chinese sell all over the world. The United States is what 15% of what they export. The Chinese, from what my uneducated mind thinks, the Chinese don't worry so much about uh, turning a profit for every fucking thing that they have the way the United States does. And also, at the end of the day, y'all, it's all a big lie. It's all a big fucking lie. And the Chinese know that the United States is lying to its people. The Chinese know that. Look at some of the videos that some of the Chinese people put up talking about this. Some of the businessmen from China put up talking about this. You see, because the United States did not have its jobs and its industries stolen. They weren't stolen. They were given away. Businessmen and corporations moved all of the goddamn shit over to the part of the world where labor is cheap so that they can increase profits. Right? And now that we got to buy everything from somewhere else, we run a deficit with everybody. In other words, we buy more shit from people around the world than people around the world buy from us because we don't make shit. All we do is consume. Yeah, we sell some soybeans here and export a little beef there and little technology here and there. But primarily, we are consumers in this country, and the corporations turned us into consumers. Okay, so Donald Trump had this big ass 145% tariff on China. I said weeks ago that that shit was going to come down, but it wasn't going to drop below 10% because 10% is what they want to raise. That's that basic tax that they want to keep because the tariffs are taxes anyway. You feel me? 10% across the board except China. Now China has a 30% tax on the goods that come into the United States. So in other words, you're going to pay 30% more instead of 145% more. In other words, the tax on shit coming from China is now 30%, down from 145%. So that dude dropped the tariffs by 115%. That 145% tariff was unrealistic and unsustainable any motherfucking way. But shit's still gonna get more expensive, and we still gonna see shortages because we got to reorganize everything because of the disruption that these tariffs caused. If they stay at 30%, because they're supposed to be suspended for only 90 days. That's 3 months. 3 months from now, we're going to be doing this bullshit again, probably. But the Trump administration just raised taxes by a whole 30% on pretty much everything coming out of China and a whole 10% coming out of everything else. Now, this morning, this morning, I was doing a little research for this talk, right? And I checked out that on average, across the board, now this is just an average, taxes get raised somewhere around, I don't know, somewhere between 3 and 8% every year, regardless. Take that 3 to 8% tax increase, and you're going to add 10% on top of that for most of the world's goods coming into the United States, and 30% on stuff coming in from China. In other words, we're still getting hit with a really big tax hike. We really are. Because the extra money from the tariffs goes into the federal government. Corporations don't get to keep that. They pass that along to us, and when we consume and buy shit, the federal government picks up all that. Yeah. So when you hear Donald Trump say, we taking in a lot of money, we taking in a lot of money, they taking it right out of our pocket, is where they taking it from. You know. So when y'all hear that, oh, a big goddamn deal was made with China, that's just some old bullshit. It's still in effect. The 10%, that's just the tax hike on top of the normal rise in taxes that we get every year, if I'm thinking correctly. And if I'm not thinking correctly, it's still a 10% tax hike for everything except China, which is a 30% tax hike. It turns out, from an everyday man, blue collar point of view, we getting screwed. This is what y'all voted for. This is y'all's miracle president doing a miracle on y'all's ass. It's crazy. But the more unbelievable some shit is, what I'm finding out with Trump and the Republicans, the more unbelievable some shit is, the more likely the shit is to happen. Like, for example, they gonna open that old prison, Alcatraz. That shit gonna open. It's gonna open. They're gonna dump some money into it. A bunch of motherfucking white folks or taxpayer money. Maybe that's what they're doing with this 10%, 10 to 30% tax hike. Maybe they're using some of the money for that because they're not using it to build infrastructure. They're not using it to increase funding for schools. They're not using it for the social safety net. What they're using it for is to put more Gestapo-ass police on the street and build prisons and detention centers to hold the citizens that they don't know what to do with. We're living in a very, very, very wicked time right now. Very wicked. You know, and if something don't happen soon, this country already looks very different than it did when I was coming up. But by the time they get finished, you ain't even going to recognize this place. And for the people getting deported, I'm gonna say one more time. Get out while the getting is good. Don't accept $1,000 because that's probably a tax. I mean, a trap. When you get ready to go collect your $1,000, they just throw you in handcuffs and ship you to El Salvador or Libya or somewhere. I think it's Libya they're trying to send people to. Ass off somewhere. Take a long vacation. Go back home. Secure your shit here. I said this in the beginning. Secure your things here. Dollars. Go home for a little while. Because after all of this shit is over with, hopefully you can come back and you can continue your life here in the United States. Although I don't know why anybody would want to do that. Given the way this country goes back and forth and is so unpredictable and unstable. I don't know why anybody would want to come back here. But if you got a business or if you got some investments here, secure that shit. Take a long vacation. Wait the 3.5 years, see what happens, and then come back. You feel me? But anyway, I got off topic a little bit there, but I'm saying the 10% tax, that's across the board. The 30% tax, That's on Chinese shit. Look around your house. Look around your house right now and see how much of your shit came from China. With that, oh, before I go over and check it out. It's on Breaking Points, and it's on CNN, and it's everywhere where a quote unquote deal was supposed to have been made. Go check it out. Anyway, that's it for now, y'all. Y'all hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I will catch y'all on the next one. TC, and I'm out. Peace.